What am I supposed to talk about? If you don't want me, what am I supposed to talk?
Hello there, I hope you are well and you are safe during this difficult time. Today, I'm launching a new podcast on my channel called On The Line, where via the internet I'll be speaking to former footballers, fan media representatives and anyone else that ideally has an association with Aston Villa. Today, I'll be speaking to one of the nicest men in football, former Aston Villa player Garry Thompson, about his career. I hope you like it, and if you'd be able to like this video and subscribe to the channel, I'd really appreciate it. Garry, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Liam.
How are you coping during self-isolation?
It's not been too bad. Usually, for the last 2, 3, 4 years, I've been working and doing the radio and doing the phone in, and so I've been on the go all the time. Plus, I've got 4 grandkids, so I don't get a lot of time to myself. So the first couple of weeks was great because I was just lazing about, doing very little. But it's getting a little bit tedious now.
Yeah, well, today we'll be looking back at Garry's playing career as well as managing career. Now, let's get straight to it. So in 1959, you were born in Kings Heath, Birmingham.
Yeah.
What was life like growing up in the Thompson household?
It was obviously, it was a fairly big family. There was 7 of us, counting my mum and dad. And so, you can imagine, there wasn't a lot of money came over from the West Indies, and then they had the 3 of us when they were over here. So it was all a little bit cramped. But there was never, apart from the usual spats growing up, there was never any real animosity. Like there would be spats. You can't have a lad like myself. I'm the middle one of the 3. Always a little bit mouthy. You got my older brother, who was we call him the golden child. He got away with murder, and the younger one, who was the baby of the family, who got away with murder as well. And then my sister and brother came over from the West Indies after. So by that time, it is quite cramped, but not a problem. We all got on really well.
So many people around the world fall in love with football in various stages of their lives. However, at what age were you introduced to football? Do you have any fond memories from your childhood playing football?
My older brother Glyn, who came over from the West Indies, him and my other older brother Ian, who's passed now, they were playing in the garden, and I was I must have been about the 6s at the time or 7, and I'm busy trying to get involved, but I'm smaller than them. I'm trying to get involved in it, and they're pushing me away. So I do any self-respecting young kid would do. I went into my mum and started crying. So she insisted that I get involved in the game. From then on, I found it fascinating anyway, just watching them. Then I just loved it playing with them. That was my first real memory. Obviously, they're bigger than me. They're stronger than me. They're leaning into me, and because they don't really want me there, because I'm a pest, don't I? And but I found that even more challenging, as it were. So that was my first real memory of it. Then I went to the junior school. The kids are playing football there. I got into the school team there, and I was saying to Bill the other day, I don't class myself as a troublemaker or whatever, but I have a loud streak at times, and I must have been a pest because my mum one day got me Uncle Charlie to pick me up and take me out for the day. And he took me off for the day, and we got on 2 buses, ended up at Villa Park. Got to Villa Park. Villa was in the L3rd Division. So this will be about 68, I would say, and 69. And then I watched the game. Can't remember who they played, but I just found it. Nowadays, I know where I was because I was in the Tilton. I looked at it, and the witness, let's say. I looked at it, and I just found it fascinating. We lit down by the front. Just found it fascinating, loved it. And he said to me, I really enjoyed it. If you behave yourself, I'll bring you again. And every now and again, he'd bring me down. I'd watch the Villa games and that. And then what's really sealed it for me, one day my dad picked us up. We'd seen the World Cup, 70 World Cup. Obviously, that was Brazil, and it was a magnificent World Cup. My dad picked me and my brother up from school one day, got a couple of buses, because we was in Kings Heath, which is Blue Nose country. Got a couple of buses, got across to Villa Park, and we saw Santos had come over. So Pele was playing, and a guy called Coutinho, who looked exactly the same as Pele, played exactly the same way as Pele, and I couldn't understand for years how this fella had not played as many games for Brazil as Pele, because they were like twins.
Going back to when you talk about sibling rivalries, and actually when you do get older, sports start to become more competitive, with many aspiring for a future career in the profession. At what age did you believe that you were talented enough to make it pro?
I didn't really. There's a guy at my school secondary school called Paul Dyson, who ended up playing for Coventry, West Bromwich Albion, and Stoke City, amongst others. And Paul was the best player in our school. We were in the same year, same class, best mates. And he got cooked trials for England. He went to Coventry, took him on trial. They signed him as a schoolboy. And they said to him, "You got any good mates?" He mentioned myself and a guy called Malcolm Percival. And the three of us were best mates. And they must have seen us play for Warwickshire and South Birmingham, but never really bothered. And then we had a good run in the English Schools Trophy. And we got to the quarterfinals, and that's when they invited myself and Percy down. We both went down there for a couple of weekends and trained. And they liked me, but Percy didn't like them. Percy refused to train every day. He just found it monotonous. And so he didn't kick on. But even then, you never think you're going to be a player. They gave you a schoolboy agreement. I think they gave me, a couple of quid. But it was when they offer you an apprenticeship at 16, then you think, I've got half a chance. But all I'd seen from 14, 15, even though I played in reserves at 16, was a load of kids coming and going. So even up till when I made my debut, you don't think, yeah, I've cracked it. And then when you make your debut, you're looking behind your back, your shoulder all the time, because there's always someone ready to take your place. So for 15, soon as said the same thing the other day. For 15 years or 20 years, whenever you play, you're always looking over your shoulder because someone's ready to take your spot.
Yeah, your first senior appearance as a footballer was for Coventry City. How proud were you to make your debut for the Sky Blues?
Yeah, it's a massive thing, because we had a good group of young kids coming through, the likes of Mark Haitley, who obviously went on to play for AC Milan, and I played for England. Gary Gillespie played for Scotland and Liverpool. We had a crew of, there were about 14, 15 of us. Gary Bannister, who played for a host of clubs up and down the country. Chrissy Wannell was there as a kid, but he got released. Peter Bodak. We had a lot of kids who were potentially good enough to get a game. So, like, for us, it was a chance to make a name for ourselves, but the competition was frightening. So you knew you had to be on your toes all the time. So you could never relax in that. And for myself to make my debut against Aston Villa, it was brilliant. It was brilliant to make my debut. We got beat 3-2, but I had a good game, enjoyed the game. But from then on, you made your debut and you think, I've finally cracked it. But then you realise there's a game on the Saturday, there's a game on the Wednesday. You've got to keep your place, otherwise, because the amount of players you see get a game and drift away from it, there's a load of them. And that's all I saw growing up, was kids who looked like they could be the next best thing, and it drifted away. You've got to keep knuckle down, get your head on it, make sure that you're there for the next Saturday, the next Tuesday, the next Saturday. It's relentless, but you just keep going.
Well, some could argue that your time at Coventry was one of your most successful periods as a professional, making 134 appearances and scoring 38 goals for the club. How much did you enjoy playing for Coventry City? Do you still reminisce of your memories there till this day?
Yeah, I got great memories of Coventry. As I said, there was all a bunch of young kids, roughly the same age. The group before us was for Terry Yorath, who's a Welsh international, Tommy Hutchison, Ian Wallace, Nicky Ferguson. They had some seasoned pros in that, and we were the next breed coming up. The likes of myself, Andy Blair, Gillespie, like I've mentioned, Dyson, Haitley, Steve Whitten, loads of kids coming up trying to get an opportunity. So it was like I left school, but I joined another school where we just played football. So we played pranks all the time. We had a laugh. No real money in it, but we were all striving to get to this goal, as it were, to play professional football. So Coventry, I got loads of great memories. I made loads of great friends. I spent 7 years there. And it was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. I mean, even the bad days were very, very good. Like, it was funny. There was always something going on. It was lively. You kind of a bunch of 20, 30 young kids without there being some kind of skullduggery going on. So, yeah, it was funny. It was exciting. It was, and we were 18, 19. We were playing football for Coventry City. So we were big in Coventry, as it were. Like, and a couple of us were getting known up and down the country. But we were actually, as people say now, living the dream. We was actually doing something that when you were 8, 9, 10, you thought, oh, I think maybe I can do this. At 18, 19, 20, we were doing it. And so it was a fantastic time, fantastic memories. And I'll say this for most every club I've been at. I got friends all over, because all I've seemed to have done is made friends. From a career, I started off in Kings Heath with not many prospects, and ended up playing for a great amount of time, made loads of friends, been off around the world, scored a couple of goals. It's been brilliant.
So you talk about living the dream after 7 years, like you said, at Coventry. You moved to West Brom. Were your intentions at this point to continue playing football in the West Midlands near home, or did you just feel that West Brom would be a great place to improve as a footballer?
No, West Brom was the last thing on my mind at the time. A year before, or 18 months before, Leeds and Arsenal came in for me, and Jimmy Hill decided that Coventry was always a selling club, and he decided he weren't going to sell any players. And so I didn't have a problem with that. So I just signed a new contract, so I was fine with that. Carried on playing. Within the year, he lost a lot of money in America, Detroit Express. And by the time a year later comes, he rings me one day and says, my wife then was pregnant. And he said, I've just agreed a fee for you to get to the Albion. And I said, no, you're right. I said, you could have signed me last year. You didn't want to. My missus is pregnant now. I've just bought a new house. Why am I uprooting? I'm quite happy here. No, thank you, but no thanks. And he said, we'll go bankrupt in 6 weeks if you don't sign with West Brom. And I went, well, good luck, put the phone down. And my wife said, maybe you should, obviously women are the more sensible of the crowd, think about it, have a chat with them, just see what they got to offer. So I went to have a look. Now, I didn't realise that players are the first creditors anyway. So if Coventry gone bankrupt, they were still about to pay us our contracts. But at 22, 23, you don't know that. So I went down, had a conversation. Ron Wiley was the manager of West Brom. Ron Wiley obviously had me as a kid at Coventry, so I knew Ron really well. And Ron basically bullied me into signing a contract that I had no intention of signing. So West Brom was never on the agenda. There was Arsenal and Leeds and clubs like that was after me. And then obviously the market money dropped out of the market, but I had no intention of going anywhere, and definitely not to West Brom. But saying that, when I got to West Brom, it was probably the most prolific period of my career, and I played with some very, very good footballers.
Yeah, during the time with the Baggies, you talk about great footballers. You played alongside the late, great Cyrille Regis. You previously talked about how Regis, Cunningham, and Batson were inspiration for yourself and young black players around the country. What was it like to be around Cyrille?
It was brilliant because people always say never meet your heroes because they'll disappoint. And I remember as a kid at Coventry, I was in and around the first team, but I wasn't playing. And they beat West Brom beat Coventry 7-1, and then they came back to play at Highfield Road, and it was an icy day. The pitch was bone high, and I remember as a kid just standing watching Laurie Cunningham and Cyrille warm up and Brendan, and it was brilliant. I just, as a young black kid watching them. And at the time, you're thinking about colour, but I'm looking at these kids, and they were like heroes. They were class. They were stars and that. And then to actually go to West Brom, because when I first went to West Brom, got bullied into the signing, I was like, okay, I've done it now. And then I'm thinking, I've got Derek Statham here, who is possibly one of the finest players that I've ever played with. Cyrille Regis is there, Ali Robertson's there, Brendan Batson's still there, Gary Owen's there, Steve McKenzie, and they had a good crew, Martin Young. So all of a sudden, it ain't the worst thing in the world. But as getting back to meeting heroes, I met one of my heroes, and he taught me so much about playing football. I knew I learned a lot under Ron Wiley and Dave Sexton, but actually having a coach on the pitch with me to calm me down, because I had a tendency for it to be aggressive and overly excitable. Cyrille calmed me down a lot, and took me under his wing, and took me out drinking a lot. And basically, he was like a big brother to me. He was brilliant.
You talked about how your period at West Brom may have been one of your most prolific periods in your footballing career. You were named West Brom's Player of the Season for the 1994-95 campaign. What caused you to be so prolific for the West Midlands side?
The way they played football. Coventry played the same sort of football, but probably didn't have as good players, but the players still developing, learning the game. Whereas at West Brom, you had your likes of Clive Whitehead. Now, if I had my time again, when I went to Sheffield Wednesday, I'd have been City of Clive Whitehead come in the deal, because if anyone could cross a ball into the box so I could come and attack it, Clive Whitehead wasn't that man. We used to argue like cat and dog during training and on the pitch, but when he got the ball in certain areas, I knew where he was going. I knew he was delivering to the box. They brought Tony Morley, came from Aston Villa. I knew exactly the same thing. When I got good wingers playing with me, then all of a sudden the runs are easy. And I found when I went to Sheffield Wednesday, Brian Marwood was a slightly different type of winger. And I've never had that kind of, people didn't really get to the byline anymore. The idea they cross diagonal balls into the box, which for the likes of myself, I'd have to knock head down for someone else coming into the box to have the striker goal. A bit like you'd see Brian Robson score, or David Platt, or sort of a deep line midfield, John Walk coming and attacking it late, centre forward, let it back. He'd come deep, head back into the box, someone come on the end of it. Whereas before, they'd get to the byline, come back, I'm attacking it, and I'd score goals, not just with my head, I'd score goals with my feet, I'd score different types of goals, but the ball was always coming in the box at different angles, and I did a lot of penalty box work at all my clubs, really, but those are the best two clubs for the amount of penalty box work I did and got rewards from.
You talked about Sheffield Wednesday. In 1985, you did join the Owls, who are one of the oldest football clubs in England. What were your first impressions of the club during your first few days as a player there?
And a bit like West Brom, I had no intention of going there. I'd been to see Johnny Giles about a rise. He wasn't really having that. I'd gone to Switzerland to talk to Servette. By the time I'd come back, the Albion had bought two players to replace me, Crooks and Berardi. I came back. They'd spent the money. I had to go. Then all of a sudden, I had a conversation with Sheffield Wednesday, Chelsea, QPR were interested, Aston Villa were interested. I'm talking about 4 or 5 clubs. Bit by bit, they're bidding. They drop out the bidding. It's left between Sheffield Wednesday and Chelsea. I go and see Howard Wilkinson, me and the wife and the bab, and we spend 2 days in Sheffield. They show us all around houses. We spend time with them and everything. And you know, Howard's showing me what it's like to come to a club like Sheffield Wednesday. I come back to Birmingham. I have a chat with Ken Bates at Chelsea in the boardroom at West Brom, and it makes me mind up. I'm going to go Sheffield Wednesday because that's my 2 choices. Went to Sheffield Wednesday, a fantastic football club. Played a very aggressive, forward-thinking style of football, very pressure-orientated, and they'd say like, a bit like, I'm trying to describe it now, because they wouldn't allow football that people would say, oh yeah, they're just a bunch of folks, but there was a science into way Howard played, and you cut the cord, cut people back passes off, you'd get the ball into certain areas, deliver into certain areas, and so you kind of knew, it's like football by numbers a little bit, but you kind of knew where to be. And to be fair, a goal scoring year, I didn't enjoy. It was poor for me because I was used to being not the main man, because Cyrille, the Albion, was the main man, but I was used to being a target man. And a little bit, I played a bit off Lee Chapman. I played a little bit wider, so I didn't really enjoy it as much. But I think we got semi-final of the FA Cup. I think we finished 5th in the league or something. So as a club and as a year growing up and developing and learning a new style of play and learning how to adapt with different people, it was quite informative. It was a very, very good year in that respect. And if I'd have stayed, I believe I'd have scored more goals the following year.
What do you think prevented you from being so prolific then?
Strikers like myself, I'm classed as an old-fashioned target man. We rely on service. As good as if you play the ball to me, I receive the ball, I get hold of it, I bring people into play. I bring you into play, we end up going wide, or you can slide me down the sides or down the channel. I'm going for a shot at goal, or a cross is coming to the box. Now, if them things don't happen, no matter who you are, then you're going to get 5-6 goals a season, but you won't get your 15s, your 20s, because you're not getting the same amount of delivery into areas where you want to attack it. And it's no one's fault, because as a centre forward, or as a man that studies football or likes football, or was very interested in it since I was a kid, when I look at the way teams play, and I think, well, why would you go there? Because it wouldn't suit you. But things happen, you do. I went to, it's no one's fault in Sheffield Wednesday apart from my own, because I went to a club where they would get, I played against them twice the season before, and I scored down at the Hawthorns. I scored 2 goals, and I think I was on their radar anyway, because Howard knew for under 21s. But their style of play, you would look at me play, you would think, he's tailor-made for that. Yet I was tailor-made for a footballing side who needed a focal point. Sheffield Wednesday didn't play as much football. The Albion played some very, very good football, needed a focal point. Wednesday, they had a 3-pronged attack.
So after a short period in South Yorkshire, you returned to the West Midlands to sign for the great Aston Villa. What enticed you to join the club?
Real a fan. And Howard and myself had made our peace, and we were all geared up for the following season. Villa had Ron Wiley spoke to me, because he was now assistant manager at the Aston Villa. Ron Wiley spoke to me and said in the tunnel, Sheffield Wednesday played Aston Villa. Would you be interested in coming? And I said, yeah, like a shot. But a lot of that happens a lot of times with players anyway. You have them conversations, but nothing develops of it. I don't think anything about it. But Aston Villa's my club. If I get a chance to go there, I'm going to go there. Howard Wilkinson rings me from Mexico, and Howard had this way about him, very, very blunt Yorkshireman, very matter of fact. Just said, "Now then, we've got an offering from a football club for you." I was like, "Oh yeah, Aston Villa." And what he said basically clinched the deal. I mean, let's be fair. If I'm being truthful, if Aston Villa come in for me, then the chances are I'm going to go. But I had unfinished business at Sheffield Wednesday, and he said, "Right," he says, "they're coming for you. You can go or you can stay, whatever you want." Now, to me, if anyone says that to me, he's more or less saying we ain't fussed either way. So I go and have a conversation with Aston Villa, but then from that moment, I'm going to go and sign because someone wants you, and it's quite apparent Sheffield Wednesday weren't fussed either way. So I'm thinking, well, fair enough. I've got a chance to go and prove myself again. I'm back home in the Midlands. My wife at the time was not happy because we stood up on our own 2 feet in Sheffield. We were mixing with likes of Human League and different types of bands. And it was a glamorous lifestyle. But I had my little boy up there, so you can understand why she wasn't that impressed about it. But came back to the Midlands and started playing for Aston Villa. So I was achieving a dream in a way. I just didn't. I wasn't happy about the way it happened. But sometimes when the bus comes to you, you got to get on. If you don't get on, that bus might never come again. So I got it.
But when I've interviewed you in the past, we've talked about the fact that Graham Taylor did manage you during your time at Aston Villa. What was it like to have Graham Taylor as your manager? What effect did he have on the team as well as yourself personally?
So manager, he was very, very good. You got to remember at that time, Graham Taylor had managed Watford, took them through the 4 divisions into what is now the Premier League. And I think their first season, they finished second in the league. I mean, admittedly, he did have Luther Blissett, who scored goals for fun, Johnny Barnes, who was an up-and-coming world-class player. And so, Graham Taylor was a man in a hurry. He comes to Aston Villa. Villa had been relegated. Obviously, my first season at Villa was a disaster. I got a terrible injury and I was out for about 10 months and they couldn't diagnose the injury. So by the time Graham walks in, I'm one of the injured party, and he's walked in and he's slagging off most of the players. He's having to go at people and he's saying, "Well, you've not given your best for Aston Villa, blah, blah, blah." I'm just sitting there minding my business. He turns on me, says, "Basically, you're not good to me. You're not scoring no goals, you're always injured." So basically, he just came in like a whirlwind and he blew that club apart. He made sure if you weren't there to work, you wouldn't be there that long. If you weren't prepared to have a go and be part of the team, the collective, Dave Sixton always said, the individual can only shine if the collective is strong. The collective with Aston Villa had to be strong because the fans hated us because we'd been relegated with a whimper. And so there was no love out in the streets, no love in the schools, no love wherever you went. And he wanted to get us back in the community, get us mixing with the fans and producing a winning side. And for me, I watched the first 2 months and players were struggling to play under him because he wanted to play a certain way and people couldn't cope with what he wanted, plus the expectation of representing Aston Villa. But bit by bit, he turned the thing around. He made us wash our own kit. He made us train. He made us work really hard. We did double sessions all the time. We were always in the schools doing community work. He made it a focal point for the community again. And we were winning games as well. And bit by bit, the love came back. But as a manager, he was a perfect manager for that club at the right time. That club was massively on its ass and it needed someone to come in and he was the perfect one.
In my opinion, Aston Villa do have one of the most passionate fan bases in the country. When Villa Park is rocking, what is it like to play there? I imagine it's a fantastic experience.
Brilliant. I mean, as a young kid playing again, I played with Coventry at Villa Park or played Sheffield Wednesday at Villa Park. You can feel it as soon as you walk out there, the atmosphere. And everyone says the same thing. You can keep the crowd quiet for the first 15 minutes, you've got a chance because the crowd will not turn on the players, but they'll get anxious. They'll want results. They want the team to show how good they are. So keep the crowd quiet. When the crowd's the other way, when it's going the right way, it is fantastic. It's like walking on air. You're being transported. They talk about now playing, after this virus, games being played empty stadiums and that. Now, I think for clubs like Villa, it's going to be hampering because it is like the extra man. It helps you. It spurs you on to go that extra yard, to win the extra tackle, to go into areas where you should be, other people won't because they're spurring you on because you're part of them. And to play for Aston Villa And when it's rocking, and there's not many better feelings.
Unfortunately, Villa were relegated from England's first division, but during your period at the club, you talked about Villa bouncing back and they gained promotion at the first time of asking, securing their place in England's first division, ready for the upcoming 1998 to 99 season. What qualities do you believe that team possess which helped the club gain promotion and ultimately rebuild the fan base?
First thing, as I was saying, that rebuilding the fan base, he made us go into the communities. He made us spend time with the fans, the same fans that hated us. I mean, Gary Shaw, who's a Villa fan, was one of the few people that used to say, whatever the result, right, we're going in the local boozer. So we go in the boozer and you'd get like so much stick. But once they have a drink with you, they realise you're not a complete tosser. Like, you actually do care about it. So bit by bit, we were making inroads. But when Graham come in and he did it on a much bigger scale, he insisted from the moment, because he said that because the fans don't like you and half of you don't like each other anyway. First thing you got to do is become a team. So what he did, he made sure we get together at every opportunity. We washed our own kit, as I think I've said that before. Washed our own kit, travelled everywhere together, always stayed overnight in the hotel, wherever, home or away. So we just got to spend more and more time with each other. I mean, it's different nowadays because they've got mobile phones, they've got this, they've got that. Back in the day, you'd make your own amusement, entertainment. So we would get together and spend more and more time together. So them guys now, I can see, like, I saw Aspinall. We played Brighton last year. I ain't seen Aspinall for about 5 years. We just kick off from where we left off 10 years ago because we still got the bond. Kevin Gage, we still got the bond. All of us, McAnally, who's one of my best mates, we still got that bond because we spent so much time together. We went through thick and thin together. But I always knew, and they knew, if they're in trouble, they looked at their right-hand side or left-hand side, one of us is there and we're going to be backing them. And Graham got us a collective unit that battle for each, not the best footballing side, but battle for each other, would fight for each other, would die for each other. And the fans, Birmingham, Villa fans ain't stupid. They know if you're having a go. And if you're having a go and you ain't the best, they'll back you. And like, they looked at that team, and most of them would say, not the prettiest side, but got results in that light. And they knew we were having a go. We were trying, we were winning games. We nearly blew it at the end, not bottled it, nearly blew it at the end, but we got over the line. It was, for me, as a young kid who'd been in the team that got relegated and the abuse I took, it was fantastic to actually redo the wrong, because what we did before was so wrong, we made it right. And so for me, to be back into what is now the Premier League with the club I support after it goes so horribly wrong was the vindication. It was like, yeah, I made the right decision. Regardless of whatever happened, I made the right decision to go to that football club because it was a club I wanted to play for and it's a club I always supported. And to this day, I can't find fault with the decision of playing for that football club because I loved it.
After a successful period, as you said, at Aston Villa, you joined Watford in 1988. You had then played for 5 clubs in 13 years. How did you adapt to playing as well as living in new environments?
I think most players are quite adaptable. I think when you're a kid, you kind of realise after a bit, because players come and players go. They spend 2 years here, then they're gone. And then you don't see them until they come back and play against you. So you don't see them for months. These are the same people you've been seeing like 5-6 days a week. Like, so you get in the habit of ships in the night, as it were. When you become that ship in the night, when you go somewhere else, you've got to... Cyrille said to me once, before you leave any club, big man, be the fittest and the sharpest you could possibly be. Because the moment you walk into the next club, you're being judged instantly. And like, I never forgot that. And he was so spot on because, like, Villa signed, say Danny Drinkwater, for example. Danny Drinkwater comes to Villa. He's only on loan, but he comes to Villa. The moment that kid walks into the building, no one sees a young kid, a young Mancunian who's lost his way a little bit and he's trying to find his way back slowly. They see a kid who's on £100,000 a week, who won the title with Leicester, who was at Man United, and he's a Chelsea player. And that's all they see. And, okay, this shows how good you are. So the moment he walks on the pitch, he's being judged. The moment he trains, he's being judged. And like, the reason I know he's a good player, because your better players, your Grealishes and all them, kept passing him the ball. If they don't trust you, they won't give you the ball. Now, Danny Drinkwater's not fit enough, so he can't do what he needs to be done. So the fans, they judged him straight away. Oh, he's hopeless now. He ain't hopeless. He's just a kid that's massively unfit, and he's not fit to do the job. So he should have been played, maybe, for me, coming on in the second half, when the game opens up a bit, where he can pass it a bit, where he can move around a bit. But by the same token, if you get £100,000 a week and you come on loan £100,000 a week, people ain't going to say, "Oh, go on for 20 minutes and get your fitness kid." They're going to say, "Go and produce." So, yeah, but go in at football club, go in and produce. You've got to from the moment you walk anywhere, you've got to produce. And that's what it's all about. People, they don't want to hear sob stories. If you're paying your money to go and watch Aston Villa, Tottenham, Arsenal, whatever, when they cross the white lines, you don't care whether he's fell out with his missus or whatever. You want him to produce for 90 minutes because the rest of it's not your problem, not your situation. They're paid to produce, and that's a horrible thing about it. We all judge them on that respect. If they're not doing it, we don't know what's happening in their life, and it's almost like you don't want to know. We had a kid there called Vertu, and like it turns out, I think his kid was ill when he was at Villa, and it was a time when Villa was going down, and you could see he had ability, but he couldn't really impose himself on games. But then again, if your child's ill in hospital in Birmingham, then surely it's hard for you to actually produce. But no one knows that until he leaves the club. Now they're talking about him being worth about 50 million quid. We signed some good players that just weren't the right fit at the right time.
So 2 years later, you moved to Crystal Palace to provide cover for Ian Wright, who was injured.
Yeah.
Did you feel nervous at all having to replace Ian, a player who was dearly loved by the Palace fans? What was your state of mind like during this time?
Fine. I left Villa. I went to Watford, and when I went to Watford, I shouldn't have gone at the time because my brother died. My marriage had broken up, so I wasn't in the right space of mind. But by 18 months later, I moved from Watford to Palace. It's a chance back in what is now the Premier League. Ian Wright's broke his leg. The deal was go for they had 8 or 9 games. Go for 8 or 9 games. Help keep us up. They had semi-final of the FA Cup to play. I was cup tied. Played the 9 games. We'll have a discussion after that. Scored the goals, keep us up. I scored 3-9 or whatever, or 3-8. We stayed up. Everyone's happy. Ian Wright does his bit in the cup final. For me, Ian's a legend, and he's another one like Cyrille. Brilliant to spend time with him. He's like you see him on TV. He's exactly the same off the pitch, but louder. And like there was no worry for me. Like I knew it was a short space of time. I knew I had a job to do. The job was to score goals, lead the line, help us stay up, and we did that. Then the biggest mistake I made. Couple said to me, "Do you want to stay?" And like I stupidly said yes. So I didn't play as many games after that. When that was possibly one of my last years to really get a good run of games in. So, but it was my heart ruling my head, really. My head would have said, come on, big man, move on again. But my heart, I loved it at Palace. And so I stayed.
Go back to that FA Cup run. Did you feel at all frustrated that you couldn't play in that FA Cup final?
Not at all. I was annoyed at the time because I was at Watford. And the manager myself, Steve Harrison, who was at Villa initially, had fell out massively to the point where we were barely speaking. And then there was a crash on the motorway. Because my marriage had broken up, I'd get access to my boy at the weekends. So wherever we played, I'd come back to Birmingham, spend the Sunday with my boy, and then shoot off 6 o'clock next Monday morning. I got on the motorway, turned onto from the M6 onto the M1, nothing moved. I was stuck there for 5 hours. I stopped up, I think it was Watford Gap. I phoned the club, told them the problem. Got into training. So I got in about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Then I'll get in. The gaffer's gone. The secretary said, Gaffer said, get your kit on. Got my kit on. He took me and ran me to all parts of Watford's ground I ain't seen before. He took me places that I never want to go again. On the Thursday, they put the team up. Thursday, I was the 14th man, and like they only had 2 subs. So Glyn Hodges was laughing and joking, going, "He's just taking you for the ride," because we played Sheffield United in the FA Cup, and so I was going from Watford to Sheffield all the way to just to carry the kit and hang about. So I weren't particularly enthralled with the idea, but it's my job. I'm paid to do it, so I go up there. And then when I get up there, the team sheet goes up again, and I'm actually sub. And I'm annoyed now because I know I'm going to be cup tied. So, but if you don't get on in them days, you weren't cup tied. So I think there's like 20 minutes to go. I've cleared off the other side of the pitch, and I'm doing stretches the other side of the pitch and all that. So they're trying to get me attention. They can't get up my attention. Then Tom Wally comes and practically drags me back to the dugout. Throw me on. We get a draw. I play a second half in the return leg. We get knocked out of the cup. But now I'm cup tied. About 2 months later, Koppel comes in to take me. First thing I said to him, you realise, because I knew they was in the semi-final against Liverpool, because everybody knew, because Liverpool had beaten them 9-0 early in the season. So when the draw was Liverpool v Palace, everybody was, it's a walkover for Liverpool. I knew this. And then I said, listen, first things first, I'm cup tied. And he went, not a problem. We know that. We just want you to play the 9 games to stay up. So it wasn't a frustration for me because it's something that it's already done. I can't change the facts that I was already cup tied. I was annoyed at the way it happened, but that's life, isn't it? You just got to go on with it. Went to the semi-final with my boy, and was delighted. It was one of the best games of football ever. And Palace, to be honest, if you see the first game against Man United, Palace should have won then. Palace should have won the cup. Didn't, got done in the second game about 3 days later, 1-0 Lee Martin. But that was Palace's cup. That was their chance to win the cup.
So during the later stages of your career, you played for QPR, Cardiff, and Northampton Town, finishing your career with 487 appearances and 124 goals, which is fantastic. Yeah. Looking back now, how proud are you of your playing career?
I think most people will say exactly the same thing as I'm going to say now. In a way, I'm proud because when you start off at 7 or 8, you want to be a footballer, but there's no real pathway for you to be a footballer. And I was so lucky to get the opportunity through Paul Dyson, as it were, to get the chance. And then I broke my leg in 3 places, come back from that broken leg and score goals for Coventry City. So when I look back at it, I think, yeah, you didn't do too bad. But I still beat myself up about goal chances I missed. I still beat myself up about I should have been better than I was at certain clubs. So for me, it's nice to unfinished business. I still feel as if it was great, loved it, could have been better. So in a way, it's a bit of disappointment, but I can't drag that time back now. I had a great time, made some great friends, had a wonderful, wonderful time playing football. I did what most of my teammates, or most of my schoolmates, should I say, wanted to do. And I did that. So, I believe it should have been better. But at the end of the day, at least it's better to have something than nothing.
So you also made appearances as well for England's under-21s. What was it like to experience football on an international scale?
Brilliant. When you play for Coventry, you don't expect to be involved in England setup. I played 2 or 3 games, and myself and Paul Dyson got called up for the under-21s. I then broke my leg, so in 3 places. So I was out for the year. So that at 19 looks like that's gone. I come back, score a few goals, things are going well. I get a late call up on a Sunday morning to pick you back, get your boots, get the Coventry, get your boots, get down to Swindon to play this game. Got down to Swindon, played the game. I think I either scored 1 and Adrian got 2, or I got 2 and Adrian got 1. And that was off and running. That group won the European Championships. And it was playing international football. It's a lot slower, but it's technically so much better. And so much, you've got to be so on your toes because people are very bright, very intelligent. You've got to half know the game. You've got to know what you're doing. Otherwise, you will be found out quickly. I loved it. I hoped and expected to go on to play full England debut. Never worked out. But then you look at the strikers. And when I was a kid, Paul Mariner was there, Bob Latchford. Then Gary Lineker came to the fore because Gary's roughly the same age as me. And they're some very, very good footballers. And I missed out. It happens. But the time I had with under-21s was fantastic. I had a great time with them. Enjoyed the football. It was more cerebral, but I loved it.
So whilst you're at Northampton Town, you began your coaching career. Did you always have an ambition to go from playing to managing and becoming a coach?
Not at all. No. I presume by the time I was 30, when I started playing, I thought by the time I'm 30, I'll have had enough of this. I'll go do something else. That was always the plan. I got to 31, 32. I think at 30, I'm at Watford. By 31, I'm at Palace. I think then all of a sudden, it's like I'm loving it now because I know the time's running out. I want to make the most I can. When I'm at Palace, I play a lot of reserve football, obviously, because Wright and Wright, and I'll be on the bench. So I play reserve football, and obviously, then in the reserves, I'm telling them what the senior players at Coventry would have told me, and encouraged me in certain aspects, and spend time with me, and explain things to me, and show me little things in that. And I ended up doing that to the kids at Palace. Like Collymore had come from Southend, and I'm doing bits with him. And Alan Smith used to say to me, you're really good with the kids and that. Enjoyed it. Went to QPR, did exactly the same sort of thing, and went to Cardiff, played for Cardiff, but was still helping encourage young kids and help develop young kids or give them tips and all that. By the time we get to Northampton, I played my last game, and Ian Atkins, he said to me, basically, I had a year in my contract to go, and I said, I ain't playing anymore. And he was like you coach the kids a little bit. But I was still on the roster, still available to play. But he really enjoyed by then coaching and helping out and just teaching centre forwards new tricks or new ways to run and different things to do, because everyone thinks they know everything. And when I started coaching, I realised, much as I had so many games behind me, I still knew I said there was an awful lot more to learn. And so I found it easy to communicate with players. I got on well with players, and I enjoyed it. So, but there was never the master plan to go into coaching.
You gained experience at Northampton Town, like you said, and you moved to Bristol Rovers to become their reserve team manager. And then you took over the role as permanent manager in 2001. Yeah. How did you find adapting to that role of a coach? Did you find it easier because you had a better understanding of how the players felt?
Yeah, the coaching for me I felt it quite easy because having played, it was easier to coach. And I was talking to my lad about this the other day because he used to come and watch me play when I was at Northampton. Me and Ian Atkins, who was the manager, would play in three centre backs. It would be two of them. So you're looking at two of the slowest, oldest geezers there. But we could run the game from there and coach and encourage people from there. So I said to me, boy, it was so easy to coach on the pitch and to tell people, oh, you should be there, come here, do this, tuck in, like, and bit by bit as they're doing it, the penny sinks. When I went to Bristol Rovers, I've gone to Bristol Rovers because we won the Reserve League at Northampton. Ian Holloway knew me at QPR. He wanted to sign me. Went over there, agreed to go. Really enjoyed my time there, but he gave me more responsibility. So I was working with the first team and doing different things with them, scouting as well. So my job encompassed all aspects of it, and I loved it. But if I look back now, that's what I was. I was a coach. I was a lad who communicated well with the players, who was the buffer between the manager and the players, and who could actually take people and work with them and help develop them. By the time Ian Holloway gets sacked and me and Gary Penrice cannot leave at the same time, they make us stay. I end up caretaker manager for a bit. Then Jerry Francis comes in. Jerry leaves about 6 months later. I end up getting the job, but the last thing I wanted was the actual job of manager of any football club. I saw myself as a coach, but because I was media friendly, as they say, I ended up doing a lot of press conferences, doing a lot of this and that, being the face of it, ended up managing it. But coaching, the organisation, all of that, working out the team tactics for the weekend and implementing it. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to play on the Saturday, changing things on the Saturday. I loved all that aspect of it. Dealing with directors, dealing with the other aspects of it, I found tedious. I didn't really enjoy that. So if I had my time again, I would just stay coaching.
Did you find that the experience as a manager of Bristol Rovers caused you to have a deeper understanding for how tough the role of a manager can be?
Yeah. As a coach, you don't have to deal with the directors. You don't have to deal with fans abuse. You don't have to deal with the general meetings. You don't have to deal with all the sort of things. Because a manager's job, dealing with the players, is probably the nicest aspect of it. The rest of it, you've got to deal with the press. You've got to deal with, like I say, AGMs. You've got to go to different meetings. You've got to be here, there. You've got to face the city. You've got to be in certain places. People want you to go and do this, do that. You've always got to be on your guard all the time. People are trying to tuck you up. It's a difficult. I mean, for me, I was like the kid in the sweet shop because it was new. And I knew the coaching role of it. And this was, I can learn this, And I enjoyed it, certain aspects of it. But I didn't enjoy directors coming and wanting to know the team on a Saturday before the team was out. Because nowadays, I mean, most people know what the team's going to be on a Saturday. But most people, you've got an idea roughly what the team's going to be. But you don't want too many people to know, because the more people that know, the more chance there is to get wind of what you're planning to do. Although I would say we scout the opposition 3 or 4 times a day, do exactly the same to us. But it was the thing about me. I didn't want to tell me directors the team, and then I knew I'd have to explain to them after. If you lose a game, oh, Mr. Manager, what happened there? What happened there? Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? And I know hindsight is brilliant, and they love that directors. It just used to bore me. I was just like, what am I explaining this again for? Like, at the end of the day, you pay me to manage. Let me manage the thing. If you don't like it, sack me. But let me manage it. They want to micromanage, and more I just could not have it. Nowadays, it'd be a lot easier because the manager, you manage, you're the coach, they call him, you coach the team. And a lot of the other stuff is done by the director of football or sporting director, and he deals with the directors and the chairman, and you interact with them a little bit, but not as much. Clubs like Bristol Rovers, you're here, there and everywhere to everybody. Ian Atkins did it at Northampton. I was a coach in Kenny Wilson, and our aspects of the job was easy and lovely because we dealt with the players, we worked with the players, we go to functions and we do bits and bobs, but we didn't have that constant day-to-day, what are you doing that for? What are you doing that for? Why do you do this? Why do you do this? I thought, why give me the job if you want to manage?
After experiencing coaching at many clubs, you decided to join the team at BBCWM. How much do you enjoy working for the company?
I love it. I mean, it come out of the blue, to be fair, because Bill Howell, who's writing the book, Bill, we've been to a lot of games together, and usually like we're having a drink and we're watching the game, and I'd be spouting like, "Oh, that they're doing this, they're doing that." And Bill said to me one day, "You should be on the team." Well, my mate McAnally said to me years ago, he went to Sky. He said, "Oh, come on Sky with us. I'll get you a pilot." And at the time I was coaching, I had my Arsene Wenger head on, and I was like, "Nah, you're right. I'm quite happy doing this." Anyway, I said to Bill, "No, it's all the radio, TV. It's all a closed shop. The ones that get in, they seem to be there for years. There's very, very few changes. There is now because more players are retiring, so they're stepping into the media, as it were. But at that time, there wasn't a lot. So then I got this. WM called me a couple of times and asked me a couple of questions about the Villa. You know, a couple of minutes. Oh, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? Now I've got an opinion on everything. I'm not saying I'm right, but I've got an opinion on most everything. So like, I'd say my piece. And then one day they said, "Oh, would you cover the game for us?" I think their regular fellow had gone off somewhere. So I said, "Yeah." So I went and sat with Mark Rieger, made a massive impression on him from the start because I always turn up early anyway. So I turn up early. We've had a bit of food, got to know each other a little bit. He's gone out and he said, "Right, the show's going on there at 1:45. Need you up there by 2:50." Yep, not a problem. Andy Blair walks in. I've known Andy Blair since I was 14. Me and Andy Blair are chatting away, laughing and joking. Rieger comes back down at 1:55. Is there any chance of you coming up to come and do this job we paid you for? So obviously I made a great impression on him, so I had to go there. But did the radio, loved it. And I've got to say, the people at WM were brilliant with me. If you listen to us, the conversation is basically they take the piss. They say Mickey all the time, and they and the accent and different things, they go on and on about it, and sometimes some of the words will come out with. But we take the mickey out of each other. It's like being in a football club again. We have a laugh, take the mickey out of each other. We know our subject, and we're all Villa fans. I'm a Villa fan, and you can hear it when I'm talking. And sometimes I'm a bit critical or whatever, because I want the best for the team. Like, and like they're like mates that I never had, but brilliant now. I love them, getting really well with them. We work well together. And it's been a lease of life for me. For the outlet, for someone that can't play anymore, but to still get me dose of football, as I travel up and down the country and watch the Villa play, best of both worlds, isn't it? Win-win.
What are your favourite memories from working for BBCWM?
I'd have to say that I would imagine that the playoff semi-finals, I think the first time was Middlesbrough, the two legs when you think, oh, can we get through? Like, and I think we scored Middlesbrough away the first leg, and Jelic used to play for Everton, didn't he? Jelic scores the header. And I'm thinking, happy day if we get a second goal there. It's game over. And that's the only goal in that whole 180 minutes. And in the last 15, 20 minutes, I'm looking and I'm saying to Rigo, it's a Pulis team. They have about one shot a game. And I think Stuart, who's the winger, used to be at Villa, he hit the bar with a free kick. Stuart Downey.
Yes, Stuart Downey, yeah.
He hits a bar with a free kick with 15 minutes to go. That goes in. I think we ain't getting there. But we get to Wembley. We get beat at Wembley. Massively disappointing because we never really laid a glove on them that day. Then this year, or not this year, the last year, should I say, when my best memories of the whole thing now is that the 10-game winning run, because we played West Brom the week before, and at Villa Park, they wiped the floor with us. Uran gets booed off. And I remember Rigo turning to me going, realise there's about 13 games to go now. We've got nothing to talk about because the season's done. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, it's going to be murder. But it's real great for me because I'm going to watch my football team play, but there's nothing on it. And then all of a sudden we win one at Derby County 4-0. Although, to fair to Frank Lampard, he picked the perfect team for us to smash that day. Jack come back from injury. We beat them. Then all of a sudden, like, we win 2, win 3. By the time we get to 5, Frank's on the show going, do you think Villa could be 10 on the back? Do you think they could win that? And I'm like, oh, behave. But anyway, it happens. We get to the point where we win this one. We go and play Albion in the 2-legged semi-final. Dwight Gale gets sent off, but they play into our hands the way they play a little bit. We're not winning that, getting through to Wembley. And I just fancied Derby County all the time. You're looking at Derby and you're thinking, yeah, because if there's one team you could play like, I think we beat them. I think we'd smashed them both times. We beat them 3-0 at Pride Park, and then we beat them at our place 4-0. So you're looking, if we do this right, we could be at the double figures. But you're not going to get too carried away. But then I'm looking at the team, looking at the Derby game, and I'm thinking, unless he changes because he had the two centre forwards who were both on the bench. And I'm thinking, he's got to throw them on. They've got no punch, they've got no thrust, they've got no way of scoring a goal. I think Mason Bennett was playing up front, and he's not a centre forward. So I'm looking at it thinking, the longer this goes, the more it suits us. And in the end, it was the last 15 minutes, they put us under a bit of pressure because they put the subs on, and really maybe they could have nicked it. But that, for me, that chunk was the most enjoyable time, because it was now we've got no chance. Maybe. It's too long a shot. Maybe. Well, I tell you what, and before you know it, we're there.
Yeah.
And then we get promoted. So that was as a chunk in my life, working with W, that period was fantastic, because it started off with little shoots of recovery, little green shoots, maybe, and then before you know it was like a roaring inferno. We was there. We was at Wembley, got in the Premier League, and the biggest disappointment has been the way, because we played okay at times in the Premier League. We've just been naive and caught out so many times and so many different things. It's been very disappointing at times, but you look at it now, with the coronavirus and with what they're trying to do, what they're saying they want to do, they want to play behind closed doors, which for me, just before the lockdown, I think Juventus played, and I remember watching about 15 minutes on the telly.
So
it was like, paint dry.
So, yeah, it's awful.
And I know they want people to, because I think they think that football is a great integrator, so it will make us all feel that life's a bit more back to normal if we can watch football. But I'm telling you, you watch 3 or 4 games with no one there, and you'll be like, "Oh dear Lord!" It just won't. Yeah, it just ain't for me. It's true. Well, when I was a kid, when I was in reserve, you play reserve football because you're trying to push on into the first team, but there's no one there. There's 10 men and a dog. You play it because you want to get in there. That's why when senior players get dropped and play in reserves, they don't want to play in reserves because they're used to the atmosphere, they're used to people screaming, used to having 20,000, 10,000, 15,000. They're used to noise. And all of a sudden you go to like 10 men and a dog, it's hard. And that's why I think if we do play it, there'll be so many dodgy results, because some players, they cannot get the atmosphere. They cannot get up for it because they're used to performing. This is what we're full of ego. We want to show how good we are in front of people. We want to let people know how good we are. All of a sudden, they say, 10 men, even though it's going to be screened all over the place, it's still only 10 men and a dog. So like, it's going to be hard.
Looking back at your whole career now, if you were to give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Probably be a bit more studious about the clubs you're going to go to, be stronger, but not be bullied into going places where you're not particularly sure of. Work even harder, listen to more people, listen to more information. When I was a kid, I was told, be a sponge, taking everything people tell you, the bits that you think are rubbish, but taking everything because everyone's giving you advice, listen to it. I should have done that even more, because I made my talent go a little bit, go a long way. I got 20-year career out of it, but on the same token, as I said, coming back to the point, it should have been so much better. Had I been more in tune or clued in or whatever, it could have been even better. And I'm disappointed about that. I made the wrong moves at times. Everyone does. And the one thing about life, you can't get it back. But on one hand, I had a fantastic time. I would just say to enjoy it more. I think that would be my advice. Enjoy it more. When I was in the heat of it and playing, it was like Saturday, Tuesday. Even when you're scoring goals or things are going well, you're looking to the next game. Great, we've done that one. Get on to the next game. Great, done that one. Let's go to the next game. Enjoy it a little bit more. Not so much go out and get drunk and that, but just sit back a bit and say, yeah, it wasn't too bad. Like, yeah, what did I learn from that? Just take a breath. Before I knew it, I was told when I was 15, I was walking around Highfield Road with Gordon Mill, the new manager, and he said, listen, son, he says, a bit of advice, he said, enjoy it, he said, because it goes by in a flash. And I was like, yeah, thinking like, come on, get to the point where you're going to give me, old man, the 500 quid or whatever you're going to give me. And like, we finished the conversation. 20 years later, I'm running out of the pitch with Glenn Roeder. We're trying to fight each other on the side of the pitch. And I'm like, that's it, I'm playing again. That's me. That just went by in a flash. And now, before you know it, 20, 30 years later, I'm 60 years of age. It has gone by in a flash. And so I'd say just enjoy it all the more, because it does go by quickly.
Finally, before we go, Garry, you do have a book coming out soon. You're in the process of writing it. Where did that idea come about?
Bill Howell, he's been bugging me for like, I would say 10, 12 years, because I've got loads of stories, loads of things happened in my career and that. And every now and again, we'd be drinking or chatting, and I'd say, oh, you blah, blah, blah. I'd tell him a story, he'd tell me a story. And he'd go, you want to put this down? because you get old and senile, you'll forget it all. Because I'd always say, "It's in the head, kid. I don't need to put it down. It's in the head." And like, he kept on at me. My boy was on at me as well. And like, he caught me about 18 months ago. Probably not even that. He caught me in a weak moment, because for years people have been talking about it, and I've been going, "Yeah, right." And then he caught me in a weak moment. I went, "Okay, yeah, I'll do it." And we started doing it, and it's been quite therapeutic. It's been good in a way, because obviously I've realised how many errors one man can make. You know what I mean? But I mean, I'm joking a little bit, but it's been great in one way, because I've talked to him about different things, different aspects of my life, and things happened. I lost my mum, my dad, my first wife in the space of 18 months. I lost my brother. My brother got promoted, and like, you start going over stuff like, oh yeah, and remembering different things and that. So it started off like that. He's now got to the point where we've got a lot of chapters down, but he's going to rewrite it again, and we just got to sort out the title, to be fair. Like, but yeah, it's been going really well.
Garry, thank you very much for taking time out to speak to me. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Anytime, man. Anytime.
Thank you for listening. Thanks to Garry as well. He was a fantastic guest, and his stories were very interesting. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate it, and I'll see you soon.
What am I supposed to